Well, I sold over 100 homes in 1 year as a single agent. I did it twice.
Wow.
And real estate professionals were shocked. They said it's impossible because teams don't sell that much.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another enlightening episode of EmpowerU, the podcast where we dive deeply into the lives of individuals who carve their own way and path to success. I'm thrilled to have a phenomenal guest with us today. She has a story that is not only inspirational, but also the testament to the possibilities that await those who dare to dream big and work hard. And I'm thrilled to have this amazing guest with us today. This is Dilyara Daminova. She is a powerhouse in the world of real estate, and she's a very well-known realtor in Virginia, Washington D.C., Maryland, and I'm sure throughout the U.S. as well. Dilyara, welcome to EmpowerU, and thank you for gracing us with your presence tonight. Yeah, how are you doing today?
Good.
Good. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Dilyara, I want to start as we dive deep into your journey. I want to start with to know a little bit more about your background. Where are you coming from? And also, moving to a new country is a leap of faith. So what motivated you to move to the United States? And were there any challenges you faced during this transition?
Thanks. I was born in Uzbekistan, but as a little child, I moved to Crimea, and I grew up finishing fully school in Crimea. And when I was 17, I moved back to Uzbekistan, finished college over there. And I actually, being 22 years old, started my own business in Uzbekistan in a cell phone structure. And I had a really good sense of business, doing business in Uzbekistan that grew very, very well. Being 23 years old, I had 6 different dealership of cell phone services that was in the best locations. And I did it myself without anyone's help. I wasn't too much into gold. And in my tradition, when you get married, they pump you up with gold and expensive dishes and everything. So I didn't need any of it. And I just sold it because I wanted to start that business. And my ex-husband freaked out because I was selling all valuables to start my business in Uzbekistan. But it worked. It worked. I started making a lot of money right away just in the business in Uzbekistan. So when I learned we're actually going to United States, I never dreamed of coming to United States. I was very comfortable in Uzbekistan because I lived my best life. I had best friends and I had education. I found my place. I found my best friends and kid and got situated. So I wasn't much big about moving to United States. So for me, it was actually a shock when my ex-husband announced that we're going to go to United States. And he's the one who really wanted it. So we moved to United States. At that time, I thought, well, if I made it in Uzbekistan, I'm going to make it in the United States. You know, I was very motivational about myself. Thank God I was very young back then. And we came, and I realized I didn't speak a word in English. I can't understand anything. I couldn't understand in a store when people asked me to stay in line or whatever they wanted from me. So the first year was very, very challenging. We actually spent all the savings we had very quickly because both of us didn't work. And I started receiving free food from different churches or any buildings that would give, organizations that would give a free food. So I'm not afraid to say that because it was my story.
Yeah.
And I would walk several miles because I just simply didn't have $1.25 to pay for the bus. So I went through all these really, really hard challenges. And I had every day thought about going back to Uzbekistan because I thought I had everything and I lost everything. And I'm just nobody here. And I remember the moment I would walk down the street in Arlington, and they have those on the road, 1955, very small homes, built in 1955. And I would look at those homes and I would say, my God, will I ever make in this country to buy my own home? Like I really saw it as an American dream. I didn't know where to find myself. I applied to all the jobs. I did not have employment authorization in the beginning, so I would follow all the immigration rules I had to follow. And when I finally got my employment authorization, it was the best time in my life because now I could apply for jobs, but I couldn't land job. I applied in McDonald's, I applied in Wendy's, and the only place that called me was Sissy's Pizza. And they said, okay, we're inviting you for the interview. The position was to clean the tables. And I was so happy. I'm like, oh my God, somebody called me for the interview to clean the tables. And I went, met with the manager, and I didn't pass the interview. And he didn't hire me. So I came out and sat on the sidewalk, and I would cry like crazy. I would say, my God, I'm not even good in this country for cleaning tables. What am I good for? So I really, really got discouraged, And I'm going to run ahead and I'm going to say that in my situation, the story of my success would be about people I met because I always met someone who helped me, and I'm trying to do the same now. So in one of the days, I went to receive free food again. I was very discouraged. Didn't want to talk to anyone, just would sit in a chair, wait for my turn until they call my number so they could give me some food. And lady came out and she said that in 1 hour there will be a job interview for anyone who wants to stay. In 1 hour there will be a job interview for Babies R Us store. It's a kid's store. And I thought I'm going to stay this 1 hour and I'm going to wait for it. And she came out and she asked me questions I couldn't understand. I didn't speak English. I understood a little bit. I answered what I understood. And she said, do you think you can lift things? I said, oh, absolutely, anything. So she hired me. She hired me, and they put me in a stock department where all goods are arriving, and you have to unload them. So it's very heavy. It's actually a job for the man, right? Yeah. But I took it, and on the second or third day, the store manager came in and he said, wait a second, I think you're in the wrong spot. So he put me to fold the clothes. So he said, just fold the clothes, like make sure that department is nice. He really liked how I worked. And I learned English very quick. I knew if I'm not going to know English, like there's no way I'm going to achieve anything. So
what were some of the resources? How did you learn and how did you overcome those obstacles?
I went to the classes English for Adults. It was free English for Adults classes. It was, but I got lucky with the teacher who knew that he put in me more than he had to, and in 1 year I spoke English fluently. I would say not in a professional level, but I could easily understand people and speak back. And all this year I worked in that baby store, and manager said, oh, you actually talk a lot. Once I learned English, I start talking. But I had amazing people working at that store that supported me all the way. All the way. They figure out later that I have very strong math skills, and they put me to work in the registry. So I worked my level up in the store from back stocking to the floor and to the registry and customer service.
Yeah, I think it's a great path because and not everyone are encouraging this and sharing this real story, but this is the story of real people coming to United States and going through all these tough times to become the person that we are becoming today, and then contributing to society. And I mean, I didn't know about this, and I'm now hearing it. It's really amazing how you overcome all these things. And I think you had a big motivation to reach that level of life that you had in Uzbekistan, and you were just, trying to prove yourself first of all, and then other people that I can do this, Well,
at that point when I worked at the store, I was very actually discouraged. I thought I will never live at level I lived in Uzbekistan. Yeah. And I just tried to make that living so I can get out of welfare. It really bothered me that I have to go and pick up that free food.
Yeah.
And
And right today, you are a very well-known realtor, and being a realtor in American industry is not easy. And I'm sure there's a fascinating story behind
A
this
lot.
all. So could you share that with us? And what were some of the challenges, maybe, or some of the decisions that you had to make to establish yourself as a realtor in American market?
I'm going to start with one of the biggest mistake. I thought it's going to work right away. I thought I have a luggage of knowledge because by the time I got into real estate world, I already had my MBA. I already worked in several offices, very well-known offices. One of them is Department of Health. Long story short, I worked in attorney office. I worked myself up professionally in different offices. So I thought I have that bag of knowledge and education, and people just gonna like me. I'm likable. So what I realized, unfortunately, that it's not about being likable. It's about being knowledgeable, and people can figure out very quick. And in real estate world, you have to know a lot, and it takes. Even though you can get licensed in 3 months, it takes you at least 3 years to learn about real estate foundations, subdivisions, how the market flows, if it's good time to buy or if it's good time to sell. So you have to know all of that, and you have to follow market every day to know that. So that was my biggest mistake, that I thought I was likable. And I was very unsuccessful, but I loved it. I loved it, and I continued with it. I took it as a hobby. I took it as a hobby at first because I really loved doing it. So I had my job in the beginning that I didn't love, I'm sorry, but I needed it. And then I quit. I quit, and I just concentrated on real estate. I gave it a shot, and it worked.
So you were working while you were going through the path of being a realtor, and what initially had that spark on you to go to real estate? You said it was a hobby and you liked it, but was it like for a better life, or you didn't like the job of sitting at the office 9 to 5? What was initially your...
So I always had, in the history of my life, I was a wild child growing up. So I did a lot of mountain climbing. I did a lot of swimming in the sea. I did a lot of biking. And I grew up, my mom worked in a summer camp. So I walked to summer camp. I would do those fire pits and everything. So I really grew up wild. I loved to go to the forest, pick up hazelnuts and eat them. And I was always a street person. In Uzbekistan, I always did business outside. So when I actually thought that I need to achieve level and get office job, it was more for prestige. I didn't realize it was really for me, and it's not me. Only when I got to the level of having office job and nice position, I realized that's not me. And I don't think I can do it all my life. And I wanted back on the streets, and I always had love for architecture because my dad was a surveyor. So in being a child, I would walk with him, measure properties. Back then, they didn't have measurements when you can stick on another side. So I had to stay and hold it on another side. So I remember starting, and I remember my dad's comments about houses, like, oh, they build it terrible. You see right there, right there. So I remember all his comments about buildings and everything. So it's kind of stuck in my head, and I started paying attention always to dwellings, how they build, like what's wrong with them. And I always had that passion. And when I purchased my first condo, thank God, the realtor was terrible. She would not answer the call. I would not find her. She was very rude, very short temper. And that's what led when I purchased first property, I thought, I'm going to be a realtor. So I started to be a realtor, and but it didn't work the way I thought it works. I thought it's adventurous and all that stuff. But I learned my truth later.
What was that truth? What kind of path the realtors go through? I know that you have to get the license, and then you start building that connection, network, and client base. How was this path for you? Was there any people you were helping you or something in your path?
So the truth is, when I went to once you get licensed, you go to the meeting where they meet all new agents, and it's always 100 people. They do meeting capacity of 100 people that just got licensed. And I remember that man came out and he said, 1 year from now, it's going to be only half of the room of you. 50% going to be gone. And 3 years from now, it's only going to be 3 of you that left as an agent. And I remember in that room, I said, all 3, it's going to be me. One of those 3 is going to be me, right? I was wrong. I'm going to say ahead. But I remember those words. And now being a realtor, I understand why he said, we're just in state of Virginia, 34,000 licensed agents. And only 100 people doing 90% of the business in real estate. That means 33,900 agents don't really have business. And to get to this level is what you have to break. You have to break hard through the wall. For me, it was challenging. I started from my community, from my friends, from people I knew. I started telling them that I'm a realtor, but none of my best friends hired me as a realtor. None of them when I was a new realtor. And their words were, Dilyara, I'm sorry you're my friend, but I know you just got licensed. We need someone experienced. I like how I took it because it didn't hurt my feelings because I thought I would do the same. I would probably never gonna go to my best friend who's gynecologist. So they have to disclose everything. Maybe they're not comfortable, you know? And that didn't break me at that point, but it breaks a lot of people when they realize that people don't want to work with them. And I just start keeping it. I love it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to hold open houses because I love it. I started real estate. I started market. And I realized that the only thing I start doing is learning market day and night. Like if my husband watching movie, I would watch what's going on in Canada, what's going on in California, why people moving now to the DMV area. So I would study markets, I would study businesses that opening here. And I start realizing that I basically see how traffic-wise prices gonna go up because I studied the companies that come here. So that made me very knowledgeable. And the first people that start hiring me are older people. They knew me. And they start hiring me. And that's how I work myself up slowly. Once they work with me, they really loved it. They start recommending. And I still solely work by recommendation. I don't pay any ads, any of it. Nothing is paid. And I really appreciate how it goes now.
Yeah, I think you being from like a Russian-speaking person, you probably work with the community of Russian-speaking people. And did that knowing the language and being from other country and helping the immigrants, did that help you to build that network and recommendations as well?
Not really. Actually, I started working with Russian-speaking community about 5 years ago. I clearly remember when a Russian-speaking person for the first time hired me to sell her house. I was already a very knowledgeable realtor. She heard of me from somewhere, and I was so afraid. I was so afraid. I didn't know how to work with Russian market because all I knew is that my Russian-speaking market didn't hire me when I became realtor. So I thought there is nothing to look into Russian-speaking community. So Russian-speaking community, we like to pick the best ones. And they start noticing me when I already became in the best list of realtors in Virginia. And I'm very proud of it. I'm the only Russian-speaking realtor that made it to the list and sitting there. I made twice to the list, 40 under 40 best agents. Well, I'm 40 now, so I'm not going to get to this list anymore. But it's a big, knowing that you're in a list of 40 best agents out of 34,000. Yeah, basically. And everybody is a hard worker. Every realtor I know that on this list is a hard working realtor. And now it's definitely worse to work with me. And once Russian community realized that, Russian-speaking community realized that I'm doing a good job, they start recommending to each other and they feel comfortable. And now they know they have someone who is professional in that field who also speaks Russian.
Yeah, yeah. Dilyara, I have a question for you. What is one of the biggest achievements that you are proud of yourself professionally?
Well, I sold over 100 homes in 1 year as a single agent.
Wow.
I did it twice.
Wow.
And
That's great.
people said that's impossible. It's just real estate professionals were shocked. They said it's impossible because teams don't sell that much. Yeah.
And what do
I'm
you
very
think?
proud of it.
And what do you think led to this success and achievement?
I think people just see that I love what I do, and I really give 100% of myself to the transaction. And it doesn't matter if you buy $100,000 or $1 million home. If you reached me out, you're my client. I don't separate transactions.
Okay, that's great. And a question came out to my mind, like to our listeners who might be contemplating a career in real estate. What advice would you give them based on your journey, and what skills and qualifications you believe are essential to be successful in this industry?
I think the number one skill is, if you're looking for fast money, that's not the career. Because a lot of people think it's 3 months school, and then you get licensed and you can do real estate. It's longer. You have to have some savings because real estate involves a lot of money. Like being a realtor once costs you at least $4,000 a year, at least. And if you don't add your services up, but if you want to give more services to the clients, then you have to add yourself to the systems that are very expensive. And in real estate, we never talk about $100. We talk about thousands. So to sell a house was thousands of dollars cost to sell a house. So you can burn very quick if you don't know the market and you came and met with client. You don't know the market. Client wants to sell house for $1 million, and then your reality house is $800. So now as a new realtor, I see that a lot. You desperate, you want a deal and you want to put it on the market, but in the reality, you're not going to sell it because that's not the market value. And now that realtor, poor realtor who saved a lot of money, poured into that advertisement, poured into that house, and it didn't sell. That's it. That gives very sour. So don't do it. Study contract, study paragraph. The contract needs to be split into paragraphs, like really cut into paragraphs. And you have to know contract because it's very tweaky. One mark means a lot. So I would say go for it. It's great. I love this job. And I don't see myself anywhere else. I think I stuck with real estate, but I love it. I love it, and I'm always here to answer any questions if anyone wants.
Yeah. I think having a passion, this is, I think, the main thing, because people who go for it without a passion and just getting money and, that is sometimes leading to giving up. So
they always leave the industry.
Yes.
Always very quick.
Yeah. So I think you have to have a passion to keep with everything that you are failing, and you are, raising yourself and keeping yourself together and just continuing to do that. Dilyara, now I want to talk a little bit about the process of, buying and selling the houses. From wealth of your experience, what are some of the mistakes or misconceptions that people make when selling or buying houses?
So a lot of the biggest mistakes seller make is overpricing homes, number one. And number two, not preparing home for the market. Like when you're buying a car, it doesn't matter if the car is $2,000, $3,000, or $4,000. You want to sit down in a clean car and check it out. You will never sit down in a car that overpiled. So for me as a realtor, it's hard to explain to a hoarder that the house is hoarder. They think it's a perfect house. They don't see, like me, a lot of houses. They only see their home. Yeah. And a lot of times people think that's how people live. So as a professional, I have to deliver it. And number two is overpricing. the pregnant women see a lot of pregnant women when they're pregnant. So is sellers. They see a lot of homes that sold when they're ready to sell. What they don't see homes that didn't sell. So in Vienna, for example, last month, sold out of 10 houses, sold only 2 homes. So 8 homes didn't sell. This is such a bad statistics in the market. So you have to always comp yourself to the houses that sold. And that's the biggest mistake that sellers don't do. Market always dictates the value, and market always corrects the price. And working with professionals, of course, that know how to sell. Because buying home takes not as much skills as selling home. Selling home is a real job that you have to get prepared for.
Yeah.
Just before we came to you, we spent several hours with Gulmira just to go over pictures and decide which picture is going to represent our listing and which is not. So we sorted out and we sent some pictures back to the photographer to edit them. So you have to be very prepared to the market before you hit the market. So that's the biggest mistake, because it's going to cost you a lot of money loss if you don't do it right from the first shot.
So you said overpricing the house. You as a realtor, you help people to say that this is the correct pricing and this is the pricing that goes to the market, right?
Yes, always. I can see the market, and that's why I study market every day. Because by the time you see news on a newspaper, somebody, editor, not the real estate professional, worked on that article, wrote this article, took 2 weeks to write an article, study market. By the time it's on newsletter, two weeks passed. We're already in a different market. Market already changed.
Yeah.
So we have to keep up with market every day, and keep up once a week is not enough.
So from the home buyer perspective, like I was literally a couple of months ago, I was thinking to maybe buy my own house, and it's not an easy process. So for the first home buyers, what advice would you give them to make this process smoother and easier?
You know, when I became a realtor, we didn't have as many programs for the first-time home buyers as we have right now. Right now, you literally don't even have your savings for the closing cost. You can finance everything. You can finance 100% for the loan, and you can finance even your closing cost. So you can literally save nothing and go and purchase house. And people, I would say, move, because if you wait, all that happens, time passes.
Yeah.
Nothing really happens in your life. The growth doesn't happen. I'm a savvy investor, and when I was purchasing very first condo in Arlington as investment, my husband literally was like, no, we're not buying that roach condo. And I said, well, this is investment. This is the only subdivision in Arlington that left undeveloped. This is the only subdivision that will need to develop. And right now in the same subdivision, we have 6 condos. And if I would listen to someone and wait, I would not be an owner right now of 12 properties. I'm the owner of 12 properties. I'm a savvy investor. Besides that, I'm a realtor. I think the biggest plus, like, don't have fear, because real estate is the best investment you can have. Like, I put into stocks some money, and by now I have only 30% of what I put in there. It will never happen to real estate, because we in a area, speaking about DMV area, it only growing. So you're not gonna, it surprises me a lot how people not afraid to lose money in stocks, but they're afraid to put money into real estate. And from now on, I said no more stocks, because I could use that money for the down payment, and it's gone.
Well, for many people, I think it's a scary process. I know that buying a house, it's a very good investment. I think it's one of the best. My father used to say, like, if you're doing any kind of investment, it should be buying a house, because like we all know that prices are always going high. It's never like losing situation. So I guess many people are like kind of, a little bit sensitive about this topic, and I think that's the right advice to just move and take the
I
step?
think it's more like about people afraid of getting uncomfortable, because once you're getting loan, it's a little bit of level uncomfortability for you.
And uncertainty
But
as well.
we in a market, in a very rentable market. What people forget about that everything is rentable in DMV area. So if you think at some point you won't be able to pay your mortgage, you can easily move out, which you would do anyway if you're not the homeowner, and rent out the space. And then it's going to continue paying your mortgage.
Yeah.
And when my son was 18, he's 21 now, I literally pushed him into investing a little savings that we put into buying a townhouse and live there with his 4 friends. Because he said, Mom, that's it. I'm 18. I want to live separate. And we're going to rent out townhouse. I'm like, wait. You're not going to pay anyone's mortgage. You're not doing it. You're going to pay your own mortgage.
Yeah.
So we co-signed for my son. And we got him 15 years mortgage. So by the time he's 30, he's going to be an owner of the townhouse.
Yeah.
And now looking back, he doesn't want to rent anymore. He realized that's the investment. I always say buy 5 properties before you're 30 and buy 5 properties before you're 40 if you don't want to work when you're 60. So I started it late.
I think it's the best advice ever.
Yeah. So you have to put that goal because you have to always get uncomfortable, save and buy, save and buy and rent out. And then you're going to see results. You're not going to see results if you just sit and wait. And global market has nothing to do with your personal situation. Because a lot of people look at big news. And you know what's funny? I'm going to mention it. I talk to a lot of people about big news. They're in a lower market range versus people who's just doing it. They're buying $2, $3, $4 million houses. They don't think about it. Do they finance? Yes. Are they getting same interest rate? Even higher because they're getting jumbo loans. But at the end, they are the winners.
Yeah.
Everybody who's buying, they're the winners.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's been a lesson for me too, I think, because, I'm thinking about it and I'm already 26, so no houses yet.
Hurry.
I just have to hurry to buy houses. So it's great. I think we already talked about networking, but I just want to dive deeper into it because I think the networking is a very, very essential in every career, pretty much. But how was your personal experience, and what advice would you give people who are starting in real estate on like establishing and maintaining that network and client base?
So I established my network from scratch. From people I didn't know. I start gaining a lot of weight. Like I love to eat. And I thought I need to make my 10,000 steps, right? And what I start doing, I start door knocking. In the neighborhood where I lived, I would walk 4 miles and just door knock. And once 4 miles done, I'm like, okay, 4 miles done. I was going home. So my main goal was to walk to 10,000 steps. But on the way, I was working. I would knock, talk about real estate. And that's how I start building my networking, my connections. So in the neighborhood where I lived, everybody starts saying, oh, that's a real estate girl. And they would say, hey, real estate girl, So I think you have to overcome that fear. If you want to be a realtor, you must be comfortable with people. Because if you're not comfortable with talking, there's other ways. I don't want to discourage anyone from being a realtor because there's other ways. You can mail to people. Yeah. At that moment, I couldn't afford mail. Mail is 50 cents a stamp per each door. And it's not personal touch. It's not the same feeling. So people are actually very kind. Once you learn people, they're very, very kind. And I always love to talk, and it wasn't a problem for me. But that's how I start growing as a realtor. I start talking to my own neighborhood. And then neighbors recommended friends, recommended relatives, and that's how I started. That's why I was not in Russian-speaking community. I was completely in a foreign community. But over time, when I started working with Russian speakers, they start recommending me to friends as well. And I realized we call it sarafanное радио, works much better in Russian-speaking community versus American community. A lot of Americans wants to keep it to themselves. I have people that work with me for years, always using me as a realtor, but they keep me as a secret in their family. So, and I start loving working with our people because it's the same environment. But in the same time, I work with a lot of foreigners too.
Yeah. And I think you should be super open about it, and you're all going out of your comfort zone, I think, because like knocking a door of the neighbor is not an easy step. Like I'm just putting myself in your shoes. I would probably be super scared to do it because were there any situations where just people shut the door or never like that?
There are a couple, but I, coming from my background when I already had businesses, I can learn not to take it personal.
Yeah.
So it's not personal.
Yeah.
It's it happens. It still happens now, and that's why I liked working by referrals because people basically know where I come from. But yeah, every time you want to get a little bit successful, a little bit level up, that's when uncomfortable level comes.
Yeah.
But once it's only fear. It's just uncomfortable level for you because you've never done it. But once you do it and do it and do it, you're going to get comfortable. I've been filming Reels before Reels came. I just loved Instagram. I started my Instagram when I worked in the office. And I was so lonely. And I was pregnant at that time. And I wanted to share how the pregnancy journey goes for me, right? I was sharing doctor appointments, everything. Got a lot of followers. Back then, it wasn't about real estate. So I look at my videos and I was so shy of the camera. I was so uncomfortable. And that was level uncomfortability for me back then.
Yeah.
But now I'm not uncomfortable anymore. So it's only uncomfortable until you overcome it. Once you overcome it, it's comfortable.
Yeah, I think it's a great motivation.
Yeah.
Now I wanna talk about a little bit about your personal life, personal journey, like working with people. Probably every people have their own dreams, ambitions. Were there any situations where their dreams influenced yours, or do you separate your professional life and personal life? And what are your ambitions and plans for the near future?
So one thing that if you decide to be in real estate, all your family in real estate, you make decision for the whole family.
Okay.
A lot of times my kids on Sunday ask, Mom, can we go to the zoo? I'm like, okay, we're going to the zoo, but we have to show these 3 homes on the way. So we blend real estate. My husband is in real estate as well. He's on financial side. So we blend real estate in our life. It does not bother us because we live real estate and our kids live real estate. And last year, my daughter wanted to be realtor for the Halloween. And it's really complimented me.
Yeah.
And she put nice skirt and shirt as a realtor. I'm like, well, I never dressed like that, but that's fine. So it's just the whole family. You can't separate your personal life from professional because real estate is not work from 9 to 5. It's always work. Because some real estate comes on the market and you have to act very quick. You have to be available always. And you have to pick up your phone. And that's why if you don't like it, it's kind of hard to deal with it. Because I said, I saw some reels, I used to have job 9 to 5, and now I switched to
yeah,
$3.95.
More freedom,
Yeah.
But I think it's every job has its advantages and disadvantages. So and I would say the question I have is, do you have beyond these tangible successes that you have in this life that you're living, do you have some sort of a goal on the broader scale, why you do what you do?
So I'm actually on the next level of my life right now. I'm growing into team. I already had little supporting team because I thought that one person cannot serve as good as when you have supporting team, because I can be sick, I can be on vacation, and it cannot affect my client. it's not his fault. He's on a serious mission, not to buy couch, not to buy chair. He's on a mission to buy a property. And I can't give him half service. I always was about service, give the best experience at buying. And not speaking highly, I compare myself to a lot of agents. And I think there is a reason why I'm on the list of top, because that's what we give to client, everything, if they decide to pick us as a client. So I had supporting team already for 4 years, and it's always backup if I'm not available or if I can't do that. And we have very, very, we basically separated our duties. We don't do everything. We have one responsible for that's going to be by the computer. And if we need a contract, she's going to do it right away. So my client should not be affected by me driving to my location. So now I'm growing into a team where I actually teach agents who've been in a business, and I see they're great agents. They can be great agents. They just don't have right guidance. So now I brought them on board, and we're going to be a team of several agents now.
Yeah. That's great. And if any of our listeners are interested, are you still accepting anyone, a team member to your team?
Well, I'm very picky because I went through this career. Actually, the people I picked that been in a career for 5 years, they know real estate, so I don't have to teach them. Because remember that room? The 50% were gone in 1 year. And what if I invest my time in someone who's not really into real estate? So I want a room where people survived for 5 years. And they just about to give up, but I can see they're great professionals. They just need guidance. So I picked 2 realtors that been in a real estate.
Okay. But there is still, some hope for someone, maybe.
But I do give a lot of trainings, and they're free.
Okay.
And once you become realtor, in today's world, you're exposed to a lot of trainings. And the best agents in the industry give them for free. Because we get invited a lot to masterminds where we can teach other agents. Because it's important for us agents that we work with professionals. We have to keep manage the industry of professionals. So that's why there is a lot of trainings, and I never turn around anyone who calls me. But when the person tells me, hey, I'm thinking of getting a license, tell me everything about real estate, everything you know. I usually say, okay, the first, if you really want to be a realtor, get a license and then call me. And nobody never called me from those people who called me. And I had a call that people like, hey, I'm in real estate. I'm already 1 year. What should I do? I have a broad conversation with them. I send them email with what they should do. And I said, listen, this is my way. You find your way. You know, maybe door knocking. I was afraid, like I have an accent. How are they going to take me serious? No, it's just your fear. Everything is just your fear.
It's a very interesting, journey that you have. And throughout the journey, I'm intrigued to know, like, you overcome all these difficulties, a new life, a new country. How do you define happiness?
Happiness is very simple. It's a health of your loved ones. That's it. That's it. Everything else is doable. That's it. And I realized you don't need much to be happy. So I realized that people in $1 million homes are not really happy because in the pursuit of that money and big homes, they actually lose families, a lot of them. And so you don't really need big home because a lot of rooms gonna stay empty, and it's just a time that you can spend valuable time with your family and health.
I think it's a great answer on this note. I wish everyone, our listeners, and to you, your family, to be healthy and stay happy. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful, amazing story with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. For our listeners, stay tuned and believe in yourself, move, get it started, and know that your dreams are within touch. If you put a little bit hard work and dedications, you too can create your path to success. This is EmpowerU, and I'll see you on the next episode.
That's it.
Good.
Thank you.